Welcome back, everyone. Brand new monthly ranking here in Mac Talks Movies. We're talking about the month of November 2021. I saw 12 new releases, one of the bigger months of the entire year, just new releases coming out both on streaming and in theaters. So we're gonna have a lot to talk about today, including Marvel's brand new Eternals, which did come out in the month of November. It feels like a long time ago, but Eternals did come out November 5th. So we're going to break down all 12 movies. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, ring the bell. That's the best way to support it. I do movie reviews, this monthly ranking every single month for every single month. I also do TV show reviews, streaming platform reviews, movie rankings, and a box office breakdown show. So please subscribe, ring the bell. A lot of videos heading towards December because we're not just going to rank December in the month of December. We're also going to rank the Spider-Man movies. We're going to rank my overall year, my top 10 least and favorite films of the entire year. There's so many stuff coming out in December. So you got to get to us to 100 subscribers. Comment down below. Let me know all the new releases that you saw. I definitely did not see every single release that came out this month. So let me know what movies did you see and rank them for me in the comment section down below. And please like the video. That's how you support this channel. Let's talk November. So we're going to start from 12 to 1. Now, I have done, if you're also new to the channel, this is the first video, welcome. I've already done both of these, all 12 of these movies. I've done separate videos of reviews for. So at the end of the video, you'll see a playlist. Click that playlist and want my full, basically 8 to 12 minute length videos breaking down the movies. I'm not going to go as deep because these are 12 movies, but let's start with number 12, and that was Home Sweet Home Alone, the Disney Plus movie that released on Disney Plus Day. Definitely one of my least favorite films, not just in November, but of the entire year thus far. A really awful take on the Home Alone franchise that had the main characters actually be the two adults who are trying to break into our main character's house, but instead they're the main characters. Our kid, Archie Yates, who's in Jojo Rabbit, is very much sidelined in forward of Ellie Kemper and her husband's storyline. So for me, it was a bit of a misfire having basically the villains of the movie try to be misunderstood adults break into a child's house. None of the jokes worked. It was really, really childish. The script was not very good. The acting at times was not very good. Once you actually got to the fun of the actual break-in and Archie Yates up, all these things, it's, I guess, fun, but at times it's a little too ridiculous, and the ending for me just doesn't really work whatsoever. So this for me is definitely one of my least favorite enjoyable films I've seen all year long. Will definitely make my top 10 least favorite films of the entire year. A huge misfire for Disney Plus. Now, coming in number 11, this is my big divisive one that I have a lot of divisive talk on my channel on this video, and that is Love Hard. This movie got a lot of praise. I mean, majority praise. I am very much in the minority. Yeah, but I could be by myself. I really did not like this movie really from start to finish. It felt like a cliche mess of each storyline, each scene. It felt like it was ripped out of some other movie. Now, yes, what does save this movie from being the worst movie of the entire year or top 5 or my bottom 5 of the year is that I think the cast really saves this movie from being god awful. Nina Dobrev is really good. Jimmy O Yang's really good. But other than that, the film is just so formed with rom-com stereotypes, rom-com cliches, a message that you've seen in a bunch of rom-coms before. And you've seen, as I said, each of these scenes in better romantic comedies. And it just felt a bit cringeworthy, some of the scenes in the movie. So overall, I'm glad that all of you who obviously did not like my video, that I did not like this movie. Again, if you don't like this movie, you don't need to bash me or anything. It's just, movies is subjective. So me, I'm just on the complete opposite end as most people. If you like this movie, I'm very happy to. I love the discussion in the comment section down below. Why do you love Love Hard so much? I'd love to know in the comment section down below. But for me, Love Hard was not for me. Let's down that Netflix trail again. Love Hard was on Netflix. Home Sweet Home Alone, Disney Plus. To number 10, another Netflix film, the third film in the Princess Switch franchise, Princess Switch 3. I think it's called, I forgot what the actual subtitle is, Princess Switch 3. Just an absolute one of the most forgettable movie experiences I've had all year. Just not a good movie whatsoever. Nor are the previous 2 films the past couple of years. I really hated 2. One was, again, just like this one, just a forgettable, pretty bad Netflix original film. Vanessa Hudgens playing 3 different people. And the fact that Fiona, the crazy cousin from the last film, actually becomes the main focus of this film was a bit misleading because she's just not a likable character, but they put her at the forefront. I really just felt nothing watching this movie. It's a pretty forgettable film, a plot that you've, again, it turns into like a heist film at a certain point. I do love Vanessa Hudgens. I'll talk about her in another movie later in this ranking, but Just not a good film whatsoever. Didn't enjoy it. Don't really enjoy this franchise. Not sure if they'd be making more, but just a franchise that I have not enjoyed on Netflix. Now, the rest of the films on this list I actually gave a 3.5 or higher, these next 9 films. So after these 2 films are probably my bottom 10, 15 of the year. These next are 3.5 or better, which is 70, really in that 65% or higher range. So really great month of November. Let's start at number 9. It's still on Netflix with Passing, the directorial debut for Rebecca Hall, starring Tessa Thompson, Ruth Negga, and Alexander Skarsgård. Now, this film for me has some superb acting in it, especially from Ruth Negga, who is by far the best part of this entire film. She's really, really good as his best friend or old friend for Tessa Thompson. But for me, what this film has a lot of good messaging. It's really well directed. It looks beautiful. The characters are solid, and the performances are really great in this film. The reason why this film, for me, I might have bumped this down to a 3 out of 5. The main reason why I just can't get this film higher onto a great Oscar type level is I think the messaging is totally off with this film. There's a lot of just messages that the film wants to just put out there. Like there's a love triangle that happens. There's a lot of racism that try to tackle. And at times there's just too many messages that they're trying to give you at one time. That subplots are just thrown in there and you kind of forget, the movie forgets about them, which means you forget about them. They try to set up this love triangle of Tessa Thompson and her husband and Ruth Negga. They try to set up Alexander Skarsgård as his racist husband. There's just so many different subplots going on that for me just does not work. So again, while this movie is really well made, I think some of the messages really do come through. And also the ending is just so abrupt. It just feels like the ending makes absolutely no sense what just happened. And that's the abrupt ending. But I still had a good time. It's a really good performance, really well directed film, and really professionally done. So I did like Passing, but I didn't really think it was a great movie or good, or I thought it was a good movie, okay to good movie. Let's get to number 8, and that is Netflix's most successful movie of their streaming service career, and that is Red Notice. Now, I feel like I had a lot more fun with this than most people. Again, is this the film that I expected? I absolutely did with when you have 3 A-list actors like The Rock, Ryan Reynolds, and Gal Gadot. But for me, I just like these actors on screen, and them together I thought really, really worked. I thought Ryan Reynolds was probably the best part of the entire film. He's the entire comedy bit of the movie. His one-liners really do work. While I am starting to feel really tired of the Ryan Reynolds isms in some of these movies, he's still really funny in this film. The Rock, Gal Gadot in a villain role. What's a nice twist. She's really just seen as the hero in a lot of stuff that she is in. It's nice to see her play a completely different character. She still off her charisma in a villain role, which I thought really worked. Some of the action was good. I was definitely laughing throughout the entire film. I just had a good time watching Red Notice. Again, the plot isn't very good. There's a bull sequence that is some of the worst CGI that I've seen all year long. So there's definitely some misfires in this film. It does set up a sequel. Of course, it has to set up a sequel because they knew, again, all these actors made $20 million each on the film, and it's its most successful film. So you know Red Notice 2 will be coming down the line. But I do want to see more inventive. The twists and turns you can kind of see coming a mile away. But overall, I had a fun time with Red Notice. Coming in number 7, while talking about divisiveness, this one's actually a divisive film compared to me not liking Love Hard, and that is Eternals. Now, this is a film that I actually really liked, didn't love. I think it's a really good movie, not great. Eternals is a movie that I wanted a little bit more emotion out of. Again, the main cast, all the actors are doing a great job. You can definitely connect to some of the characters. So cool that Angelina Jolie is in the MCU. Her character is a total badass. We have Barry Keoghan in a really good role, Richard Madden, Gemma Chan, Brian Tyree Henry, Salma Hayek. There's a lot of good performances in this film with Kumail Nanjiani, really, really good cast. I just wanted more emotion out of it. I thought the action's really well done. Chloe Zhao, just like Nomadland, directs the hell out of this movie. It's such a well-made movie, really well directed. The scope of the movie, it does feel epic. And Chloe Zhao is just such a good director. And she brings that to this film and really gives it a different feel, which is why I did like this film more than most people are giving it credit for, is that it doesn't feel like just another run-of-the-mill, same formula MCU film. It sometimes doesn't even feel like it's in the MCU, which I actually kind of liked about the film. Not every single MCU film needs to directly connect in its main plotline or feel like an MCU movie. That's why I kind of liked with films like Ant-Man, Doctor Strange, that they can just feel different, and that's okay. They'll connect later, but it's okay having their own thing. The biggest issue I had with this movie is really the romance didn't hit for me as much as I wanted it to between Gemma Chan and Richard Madden. It's supposed to be one of the big emotions of the entire film, and I didn't feel any emotion at all towards the third act of the film, and you can tell that I was missing something. It was just emotion. There was a little bit too many characters and too much history to explain in 2.5 hours. It was just too much. It's thousands of years. There's so much mythology to these characters that don't get explored, which is totally cool. But for a 2.5 hour movie, because they had to explain how they're here, it kind of derails any emotion you can have with the characters. And that's just how I feel about Eternals. But I am on the positive side of Eternals than the negative side. To number 6, let's go to Apple TV Plus with Finch, a film that really no one's talked about this month. Tom Hanks is in this film as the main character, the only really human in the entire film. I actually had a really good time with Finch. Tom Hanks, of course, is really fantastic in the film, but it was also the robot voiced by Caleb Lanley Jones that absolutely worked for me. Feels like a real robot, doesn't really feel as CGI of course, some scenes obviously go to CGI this robot, but it does feel like a practical robot, which made it the idea of the robot learning human qualities and taking care of Tom Hanks's dog, all those different types of things I thought really, really worked in this film. The fact that it's just a simple film about basically the whole United States, everyone is just gone. You go outside, you burn, and Tom Hanks has found his way to survive. But he really cares for this dog. I mean, there's a lot of really, really great themes in this film about seeing the world, about the love of your dog. And again, Tom Hanks is not a flawless character in this film. He yells a little too much at his robot, but his robot does stay by his side. I really did love the relationship in the film between Tom Hanks and the robot in the film. I do have a couple issues. I wish there was a little bit more tension. There really is no tension in this movie because there's no other humans. Some of the actual threats are just environmental, which I do think kills a lot of the emotion and tension out of the film. I did feel like we ended a bit flat, but overall, I really had a good time with Finch on Apple TV Plus. Now let's go to films that I gave a 4 out of 5 stars or higher. And let's start with my top 5 of the month of November, with number 5 being Ghostbusters Afterlife. What a fun film and a really great return to form for the Ghostbusters franchise. Definitely by far the sequel that everyone's been waiting for over 40 years. This is the sequel that everyone's been waiting for. Ghostbusters Afterlife really executes all the way across the board, led by its absolute star-making performance for McKenna Grace, who really is the main character of this film, playing Igor's granddaughter, her Phil Wolfhard, and then Carrie Coon and Paul Rudd. Really great cast, a lot of good nostalgia, but McKenna Grace steals his entire movie as his main character. And it's a great perspective to welcome you back into this franchise by looking through the eyes of McKenna Grace's character. She's so fun. She has a lot of her jokes, even though they're played as they're not funny jokes, actually are pretty funny. I was laughing throughout her jokes in the theater. Can't be hard to have Paul Rudd be funny in a movie. He's so funny in this film, playing her science teacher who gets in a relationship with her mom, Carrie Coon, who's also very good. Finn Wolfhard, of course, is very good. But they add a lot of nostalgia to the film. I don't think it's too much nostalgia. When you set up 2 hours of film and then get to nostalgia, I'm cool with it. When you get nostalgia fest from the start of the film to the end, there's not. This film has its own story, has its own characters that you care about, and then the nostalgia comes in. So I think Jason Reitman did it right. I would say a bit the third act, I think the emotion of Carrie Coon's character, it didn't really hit hard enough for me. And there's too many times where Paul Rudd is just not in the movie. He kind of just disappears. And another issue is I thought Finn Wolfhard really just had nothing to do in the first half of this film. And every time you cut back from him away from McKenna Grace, it just felt like nothing was happening in the movie. But overall, I had a great time and a really great Ghostbusters sequel. To number 4, the most recent film that I saw in theaters, and that was Disney's Encanto. What a great back to form for me for Disney animation. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of the Frozen films or Moana. This is really my type of speed for Disney animation. Encanto is a really, really good film showing off the Colombian heritage really, really authentically with a really great main character voiced by Stephanie Beatrice, who is the only person in her family who doesn't have basically superpowers. And the fact that you can still be special and the family can still be special, even with a person in it who doesn't have special abilities or powers. And I thought the messaging, this is one of the best messaging Disney films that I have seen in a really, really long time. I think a lot of parents need to show their kids this film. It has a lot of great messaging. Definitely go check out Encanto. The music from Lin-Manuel Miranda, he's wrote the music for this film. I mean, all the songs are good. There's some songs I do feel like are a bit distractions from the actual main story, but all the songs in general are really, really good. The animation is beautiful. The actual authentic heritage is also, and culture is really put on display in the movie, and that also is shown very well. A couple issues, as I said, with the film, you kind of know where the film is kind of going, really from start to finish. Pretty predictable film, and as I said, some songs that they're trying to get all these characters involved, and sometimes there's a few too many characters who have their own songs. They're kind of like, this is kind of a distraction of the main story. And then once John Leguizamo's character is in, the movie really picks up until it's a bit too slow for me, but still great Disney animation film. Let's move into our top three. Number 3 is Tick, Tick, Boom from Netflix. Again, back-to-back Lin-Manuel Miranda. This time, Lin directed it, and I believe the best performance of the entire year is given here by Andrew Garfield, who plays Jonathan Larson, who's the one who created Rent. But this is not about Rent. This is about how he took 8 years writing this play, Suburbia, never gets made, and wrote Tick, Tick, Boom about his, basically an autobiography of his life. It's a really breathtaking, and as I said earlier in my review a couple of weeks ago, magnetic performance for Andrew Garfield. It's really his best work, and I'm a huge Andrew Garfield fan. Social Network, Hacksaw Ridge, this is by far his best performance. Not just is he a great singer, but he has to go through so many different types of emotions. The highs, the lows of trying to become a Broadway writer, and the fact that he encompasses in his autobiography going through a love relationship, going through the AIDS epidemic, going through his best friends dying left and right, and noticing that maybe I need to leave a mark on this world. And I think he absolutely did. And Andrew Garfield is fantastic in the film. The music, which are all Jonathan Larson's songs, are also all fantastic. Robin DeJesus, who I believe probably won't get nominated, but should, is by far the best supporting character as Michael, Jonathan's best friend. He's really fantastic in the film as well. Also very well directed for a directorial debut for Miranda. A couple issues I did have. I thought the love relationship, good chemistry between Garfield and Alexander Shipp. But for me, the emotion, I didn't get there as much. It felt a lot of their scenes were just very repetitive, and it didn't really work as well for me. And the way they told the story of it was a bit out of order, so it kind of at times confused me where we were in the actual timeline. But overall, I really thought this was a great movie for everyone involved. Tick, Tick, Boom is a great Netflix original film, and Andrew Garfield deserves all of his awards praise. He needs to get nominated because I know he probably won't win, but he definitely needs to be nominated. Number 2 this month is The Harder They Fall, which I thought was a fantastic Netflix film from James Salmon, one of the best casts of the entire year. Jonathan Majors, Idris Elba, Zazie Beetz, Delroy Lindo, Lakeith Stanfield, stack cast, a Black Western film. And I thought it was really, really well done. You really enjoyed both sides of it. Idris Elba is this villain who I couldn't stop watching throughout this entire film, but Jonathan Majors continues to prove why he's becoming one of the best working actors in Hollywood today. He's really fantastic in this lead role. And the whole cast is great. Lakeith Stanfield, they each have their own things, but this train sequence you can see in the trailer is really great. Regina King and Lakeith Stanfield breaking Idris Elba out of prison was a really mesmerizing scene to watch. The way they shoot Idris Elba as well, really, really well. The film also has some really fun Western-like action. Yes, it's very similar to other Westerns, but has a new, unique flair to it, which I gave a lot of credit to. Again, the cast is good. The characters are good. Couple issues with the film for me was that I just didn't feel the emotion as much. The film has a big collision course between Jonathan Majors and Idris Elba. And for me, I felt like the buildup was 10 times better than the actual meetup between the two characters in the third act. Just my opinion, it really does suck out of the emotion out of the entire film when they met up, and the predictability of how they're connected to each other did not work for me. But overall, what a great, really good Netflix original film. And let's get to my number 1 movie of the month. It's in my top 5 of the year right now. We'll see if that lasts. King Richard on HBO Max and in theaters. I said Andrew Garfield was my favorite performance of the year, and he absolutely was, in my opinion, still the best performance of the year, but nothing across. Will Smith is fantastic as Richard Williams, the father of Serena and Venus. He's really great in this film. And as a big tennis fan, as a big sports fan in general, really respect that this is one of the best sports movies of the last 10 to 20 years. It's a really fantastic sports film that depicts both racism, siblings, how far to take your kids, how to bring them back home. Anjun Ellis is fantastic as Brandy Williams. the Williams sisters' mother, who really keeps Richard basically sane for the most part. John Bernthal is great as their second coach in the film. And yeah, so I know where everything's going, I do, but I really felt the story. It felt like an authentic sports tennis movie that I think doesn't just work for just tennis fans or just sports fans, but everyone can watch this and find some enjoyment in it. It's a really heartfelt film. You really care about the characters. Is it just incredible that they're making this just because they're Black? Is it incredible because of the talent on display and how they're depicted and how mesmerizing that the Williams sisters took over the sport and how King Richard Williams himself, put them in that position. I absolutely love this film. Thought it was fantastic. I've been talking about it with my friends and family for days now since I saw it last week. Really, really love the film. So that's my thoughts. That's my ranking, guys, from 1 to 12. Thank you guys so much for listening. From 12 to 1. King Richard is at the top for the month of November. We got one more monthly ranking in 2021. If you want to see my other rankings, click that playlist right there. If you want to see all my breakdowns of my other movie reviews, click that right there. Subscribe. I'll have more videos, Power of the Dog and Hawkeye are my next 2 videos. Spoiler review of Hawkeye episode 3 and Power of the Dog review are all coming out. I'll see you guys then.